The comments and statements made within the show are the opinions of the commentators and their guests, have not been evaluated by the FDA, and are in no way attempt to diagnose, treat, mitigate, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. The contents of the show are not to be construed as medical advice. If you have a health condition or health concern, please contact a licensed, qualified healthcare practitioner.
Oh my, what have you found, Franny? Let's see what they say. Latest and greatest. You found more. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Excellent sleuthing, Fran. Fran, I think this is a new case for the Supplement Super Sleuth. Dig, Franny, dig! Time to go down the rabbit hole and see what we can find. Goodness, where are we? Aha! Take a look at this.
Hi, Supplement Super Sleuth here on a very rainy, dreary April morning. Hope you're all well. Just grooving a little to those smooth jazz sounds that has become a part of my podcast. Maybe you want to groove too. Or maybe not. Yeah. Anyway, really happy to be here and sharing some more info. Today, we're going to really focus on naturals on the news. I have some fun things to share and wanted to get right into it. So some of the headlines that I've seen over the past week have been really focused on Lyme disease. And of course, that makes a lot of sense. May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. And one of the headlines that I saw that I really looked into is, you know, we really had a mild winter here on the East Coast, not in the Midwest. The Midwest really got clobbered. But here on the East Coast, we had a very mild winter. And a lot of people ask, will there be more ticks this year because the winter's been so mild? So there's been a lot of posting in Medical Express, which is a really great place to find kind of new hot research that's going on in the world of science, just in our overall area, the world, the globe, medicine, etc. And the researchers who've been looking at ticks always say it's a little hard to predict, but they do see trends. And because of the mild winter and the early snow melt here on the East Coast, it could mean more ticks earlier than usual and a wider spread of Lyme disease, which is, as everyone knows now, is a tick-borne disease. There are other tick-borne illnesses that can be transmitted by ticks and spiders, by the way. Spiders are also eight-legged creatures. Ticks are eight-legged creatures, and ticks are not considered insects. They're arachnids. So some weird piece of information, but there's a reason for that, because spiders can also carry a lot of the same diseases that ticks carry. And in fact, spiders carry a disease called leptospira that acts and looks symptomatically a lot like Lyme disease. So just to keep you ahead of the game with all of that, it could be an above average year for tick activity. And a researcher out of Connecticut, his name is Gudars Molai. He's a tick expert for the state of Connecticut. And they sent in over 1,000 ticks so far since January 1st. Second highest number of submission in the recent years. And he really feels that this is going to be a banner year for the amount and number of ticks that will be ready and willing to suck everybody's blood, which that's what they do, right? Infected ticks spread bacteria, virus, and parasites, and that's what makes people sick. Lyme disease continues to grow. Black-leg ticks called deer ticks, but other ticks and spiders can carry Lyme-causing bacteria. They also spread a disease called babesiosis, and another one called anaplasmosis, and a virus called powassan. And the Lone Star tick, which is usually found in the South and in the Midwestern states, can also carry ehrlichiosis. So American dog ticks can spread Rocky Mountain spotted fever. That also looks a lot like ALS and Lyme disease. So they bite rodents and wildlife, and then they bite us, and that's how all those diseases. Um, so the season for ticks, it's really intense in March, April, and May here on the East Coast. In the high heat of the summer, it's the ticks. It's a little hot for them, and they kind of go away. But in the fall, it comes back again. So, but ticks are really prevalent. They're young and they need blood in order to survive. So they're really starving in the early spring, and that's when they're the most problematic. Um, so we really need to keep our mind and eyes on that. If you are out and about, if you love to get outside, and of course spring calls us out of this winter rest period. We can't wait to get outdoors. It's really important that you do a tick check every time you come in from being outdoors. You do want to use products that have 0.5% permethrin in them. Permethrin will kill the tick. But there are other ways to pre-treat yourself, your dogs, especially your dogs. If you have pets, dogs and cats, please make sure that you check them thoroughly because if there's a tick that gets left there, or if they're crawling on your pets, they can definitely jump off of them onto you, which is oftentimes what happens. It is really important to understand that although, as soon as you get a tick bite, and you should remove the tick, very specifically making sure that you get the proboscis. Don't pull it out with your fingers, because oftentimes if you just pull it out with your fingers, you'll leave the head of the tick embedded in your skin, and that the saliva is where they have compounds that disarm your immune system, and oftentimes they've already started that pump of sucking your blood, so they kind of spit into your bloodstream and your skin with components that disarm the immune system in that local area. And then also the bacteria and viruses that they're carrying get into the bloodstream in that manner, and your immune system's been disarmed. So you definitely want to make sure you get the head and the proboscis of the tick out. That takes specific kinds of tweezers, and you really need to dig. It's not comfortable, but do that, and then make sure you save the tick. Save it. You have no idea what that tick is carrying, and it could be an array, a smorgasbord, if you will, of diseases. So save the tick, and watch your skin. Make sure that you use a preparation on the skin and an antiseptic, and make sure that if you have a ring that shows up, please see your doctor. Sometimes the ring does not show up and you still feel pretty lousy after a tick bite. You should see your doctor or your provider. Since May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimate that nearly 476,000 people in the United States contract Lyme disease every year. And it's really important to understand that although classical Lyme disease attacks the joints, it also can attack the nervous system. There was a headline that I saw for headline number 2 that said recommendations for detection of neurological Lyme diseases by rheumatologists. But you should also keep in mind that you can have a host of signs or symptoms that aren't really related to the joint pain and swelling that comes with classical Lyme disease. So, New Jersey Medical School, Dr. Stephen Schutzer wrote in a journal about the what we call neural Lyme, if you will. But there are signs of neurological Lyme disease. So 14 to 30 days after a tick bite, if you don't see the bullseye pattern on the skin, um, you may start to feel other things. The rash sometimes you don't see. If you get bit on the head or if you get bit somewhere else, you're not going to see it. So, and not everyone presents with the Lyme rash, the bullseye rash. What can happen is neurological signs, fatigue, brain fog, inability to concentrate, not able to finish your sentences. Sometimes people will have pins and needles feelings in their arms and legs. And that one is really hallelujah sign. Sometimes people will have neck stiffness, and I mean severe stiffness, where you have a really hard time moving your neck around, and severe headaches that are unrelenting. And if that's more your signs than painful joints, then you could possibly have neural Lyme disease, and you really need to be seen by specialists. There are what we call Lyme literate physicians. I would search them out to really get a sense of if things have moved into a different kind of expression of Lyme disease. So there it is for the headline about Lyme and ticks. It is springtime and we are running out the door. But before you go out, make sure you manage it and make sure you have a strategy for managing ticks, because they're out there already, especially in the East where we had a very, very, very mild winter. Okay. Next headline in Naturals in the News from Medical Express. Gut microbiome fluctuates throughout the day and across the seasons, study finds. So of course, I already have a comment. I think it's hilarious because it's true. Our microbiome is dynamic and fluctuates on a day-to-day basis, sometimes on an hour-to-hour basis, depending upon what you eat, what you drink, and your external environment. So as the seasons change, if you're eating according to the seasons, your microbiome is going to change. And, Christmas time, whatever, you're having a lot more sugar. Springtime, you're not having sugar after Easter or after some of the other holidays because you're getting ready for bathing suit season, right? Then, you're eating differently. And because of your your dietary choices, your microbiome may fluctuate. So they found that the balance of microbes in the human gut varies substantially from morning to night and even season to season. And some of these fluctuations are profound. These research findings were presented at Digestive Disease Week 2023, and really took quite a bit of now what, right? Seasonal variations, like conditions like allergies or the flu, in the context of microbiomes, really show up differently. The study's lead author and researcher at the laboratory of Amir Zarimpar at the University of California said, "We may need to put our understanding of how seasons affect health and disease in the context of the microbiome that is much more variable and dynamic than we previously thought." So it was a very interesting study. They had 20,000 stool samples collected from the American Gut Project and from countries all around the world from 2013 to 2019. Researchers found nearly 60% of the related groups of bacteria have a distinct 24-hour cycle. That's really cool. And also for people who take probiotics, it's really good to take them at the same time every day But that also has a, kind of creates a shift in the phyla, or the types of bacteria that are present. Dr. Zarinpar and his colleagues think that diet and sleep are likely the biggest factors to daily fluctuations, which is what I said. And we do know that's absolutely true. And also how different water availability and pH had in its effect on the microbiome. So again, staying hydrated really is a good thing for your microbiome. So the researchers are gonna present more of this study May 7th, Sunday, May 7th. There's going to be a kind of a big unveiling. There's over 395 abstracts that are going to be parsed out from this massive study on the human microbiome, and it's pretty exciting. So keep an ear to the ground, and I will have a lot more to say about our guts and our microbiome, those beneficial and sometimes not so beneficial, but very important bacteria that we carry throughout our digestive system. Okay, another really cool headline that I saw said blueberries benefit postmenopausal women who have high blood pressure. This was published in Nutra Ingredients Europe, April 5th, 2023. And I'm a big blueberry lover, and blueberries have they're high in fiber, they're very low in sugar, they're very high in antioxidants. And the particular kinds of antioxidants in blueberries have a profound effect on what's called endothelial function. So the endothelium of our vessels is this place where there can be too much constriction, and or there can also be relaxation, or what we call vasodilation. And in that is how blood pressure kind of can be manipulated, if you will. So how much blueberry? So the research piece that was related to this posting was 3 ounces of blueberries on a daily basis, once a day, plain. So I think it's a really interesting consideration. I think just getting blueberries in your diet is a great thing to do, whether you're premenopausal, postmenopausal, of childbearing age. It really is a remarkable fruit, and those dark purple, blue pigments are exquisitely supportive of our cardiovascular system. Okay, another headline that I saw in Science Tech Daily, Roselle, which is also known as hibiscus. So, and I've talked about hibiscus before, and I do have an herb blog on hibiscus. It's a favorite herb of mine. Is a hero ingredient to help manage obesity, and there is a lot of research on this extraordinary herb called hibiscus. In a recent study, explored the potential of phenolic extracts, or these antioxidant components, and hydrocitric acid, which is an organic acid found in this beautiful plant called roselle or hibiscus, and discovered that these antioxidants found in the roselle plant, often called what we commonly known as hibiscus, have an anti-obesity property that may offer potential for functional food weight management. Now, okay, I know a lot of people struggle with obesity, especially as they age. When you're young, sometimes that's not really the case, although we have a lot more youth that are struggling with obesity. But suffice it to say, what's so lovely about roselle or hibiscus is really the best way to take it as a tea. And quite frankly, it's delicious as a tea. And it's that simple. It doesn't have to be a special extract. It doesn't have to be, something that is prepared pharmacologically. but you can absolutely have benefit. So let me just share some of the research because it's pretty cool. And again, just drink hibiscus tea, especially in the summertime. It's so fabulous. According to recent research, the antioxidants found in the roselle plant have been found to have these anti-obesity properties. Um, Antioxidants are food alternatives, and there was a really interesting study that was conducted by PhD candidate Manisha Singh at our MIT University, and they explored the potential of these phenolic extracts and hydroxycitric acid found in the hardy roselle plant. Okay, so when the body has an excess of fat intake, fat can be deposited in the cell, which turns them into these adipocytes. Okay, the adipocytes are vital for regulating the body's energy and our sugar levels. However, sometimes when the energy intake exceeds expenditure, it can cause your fat cells to grow in size and number, and that contributes to obesity. So that can happen when you take in too much fat or too much sugar, right? Human stem cells in this study were separated and treated with the phenolic extracts and the hydroxycitric acid before they were turned into fat cells. Now, hydroxycitric acid has been studied before as a single compound, but what's so interesting about this is that both were used together. They were treated with the phenolic extracts and the hydroxycitric acid. And when these fat cells were exposed to both of these compounds that naturally occur in roselle, they had 95% less fat compared to the control cells. So there was the ability to burn the dietary fat as energy versus storing it. So it's very interesting the way that the study was set up. And current methods of obesity focus on lifestyle changes and medication. And a medication is effective for people who are morbidly obese, but they can also have negative side effects. It can, really be a detriment to the gastrointestinal tract. They can also cause high blood pressure. They can impact kidneys and liver. So, but the phenolic extracts from the roselle plant, hibiscus, are just food, and they don't have a negative side effect when taken in the context of the herb. Hibiscus is a plant you can drink every day if you wish. So it's lovely. You can take it as a fruit, you can take it as a dried powder, and you can also take it as a tea, which of course is my favorite thing to do with it. The polyphenols and the hydroxycitric acid is a lipase stimulator. So it helps break down fat on a cellular level and convert it into energy. So that's pretty great. I think it's promising and hopeful, and I think it's again another reason to have hibiscus tea, especially as the weather gets warmer. Okay, another really cool headline I saw was it sort of read like this. It was from NutraIngredients. It kind of came across my my website or my inbox in my emails, and it said COVID-19 treatment combining curcumin, which is a compound from turmeric, and quercetin, which is again another plant polyphenol, may reduce the duration of COVID-19. So outpatients who were administered curcumin and quercetin after testing positive for early stages of SARS-CoV-2 were found to clear the virus at a significantly faster rate compared to those receiving standard of care. So, and I love this because it's never going away, folks. Well, coronaviruses have been around since the beginning of time, just like influenza, and bird flu and swine flu. And I mean, these are respiratory viruses or viruses that are caught through our respiratory system, our nose, our mouth, breathing. And so it's not as if they've ever been completely eradicated and may never be. we can certainly attenuate the signs and symptoms of it. And of course, as you get older, these kinds of respiratory issues become definitely on the list for killer, So we want to really make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to keep our health, as good as we can, food, diet, sleep, water, lots of water, but also some of our natural, gentle things you can take on a daily basis, not only have um, really wonderful effect for us, for our joints, our overall inflammatory response, just kind of modulating it, bring our body back into homeostasis gently without a drug effect. Well, curcumin and quercetin as components of any plant, can be a real boon for us on an ongoing basis. So the research really looked at a particular amount of each, but quercetin is something that a lot of people who have allergy might want to consider taking. You can take up to 500 milligrams of quercetin. That's a lot, but it can help with signs of, red, dry, scratchy eyes, itchy eyes, nasal congestion, little postnasal drip, a little bit of sore throat from postnasal drip, fatigue, those kinds of things that come around in the spring, which is a perfect time to take quercetin. So I often will recommend to my clients who have, some mild seasonal discomfort to take quercetin on a daily basis. And at the same time, taking quercetin, they're also protecting themselves just a little bit from aerosol viruses. So it's lovely to see the research. We've seen it clinically for a very long time in the natural products industry, and it's something that's really safe. It comes from plants. So, okay, one more, if you will, one more headline for Naturals in the News. Review of chamomile shows potential efficacy to treat a wide range of medical conditions and disorders. So I love chamomile, and a lot of people know that I'm someone who says, have a little bit of chamomile tea. Now, the only people who can't have chamomile successfully are people who have ragweed allergies. It's in the same family. So if you have very severe ragweed allergy, I would recommend not having chamomile. But for those of you, have a little, maybe you eat a little bit too much at supper, and, or maybe you're feeling a little tense, and your tummy's a little off. Chamomile is like the perfect cup of tea for any of those things. Some people take high kind of concentration extracts of chamomile. There was a lot of research that was done on extracts of chamomile for people who have chronic fatigue and insomnia. So used as a tea, it's just gentle and lovely and can relax you, and it's great for dyspepsia. But for people who have some sleep disorders and who have chronic fatigue during the day with muscle pain, chamomile extract can be quite a boon. This particular piece of research published in with the American Botanical Council and published in PubMed through Life, March 25th, 2022. It was a review of the ethnomedical use of phytochemistry of chamomile. Life magazine published the findings of the research and lists more than 120 constituents that have been studied and identified in chamomile that are health and life supporting. Antioxidant properties really demonstrate how it works in the gastrointestinal tract and depending upon the plant. So multiple studies have been evaluated for its safety and efficacy for anxiety, mild anxiety, and have really demonstrated incredible effects for insomnia, especially the type of insomnia where you just can't get to sleep. So there's different types of insomnia where you fall asleep, but you have what's called early waking, or you can't get to sleep. So the mind's going, and you're lying there, you just can't fall asleep. Chamomile is really good for that. So great new research, great new ability for us to continue to support the use of the beautiful flowering plant chamomile. I thought I was done, but I'm not, because I have one more thing to share. I saw a headline, and I really want to share this because a lot of people talk about cranberry. And I actually heard something on NPR radio the other day about how the cranberry bogs here in Massachusetts on the Cape are struggling because of climate change, and things are getting warmer and the yield is less and less, which kind of scares me because this this headline says it's official. Cranberries can reduce the risk of urinary tract infections by 50%. It was published in Science Alert April 24th, 2023, and it said a recent study reported promising results on using cranberries to treat urinary tract infections. And this practice dates back, well, forever. Native American peoples, our indigenous people here in North America used cranberries, and they used them in that way. It's very, very old. It's really useful where there's painful bladder issues. And a new study reviewed 50 previous trials covering 8,857 participants in total. And these trials that were well done included a range of methods to determine the benefits of cranberry products. And the vast majority compared cranberry products with placebo, or no treatment at all for the urinary tract infection. Drinking cranberry as a juice or taking capsules reduced the number of UTIs in women who had recurrent cases, and in children who were susceptible to UTIs. So, and also there was another group in the meta-analysis study of people who had radiotherapy to the bladder because of bladder cancer, which is bladder cancer is a really common cancer. And it's very treatable. But those groups of people, people had high risk of recurrent, children who had propensity towards UTIs, and then also people who have had treatments to their bladder for bladder cancer. All of these groups of people reduce their risk of recurring issues with their bladder in over 50%. So it's pretty great. You want to make sure you get a cranberry extract that has no added sugar in it. But it's nice, again, to see our plants still meeting all different kinds of strict assessment for their efficacy. So, okay, so you're probably wondering who I am. I've had a complementary and alternative health and herbal clinic for more than 30 years, focused on difficult to treat conditions, and also have been a spokesperson and educator in the natural products industry for over 20 years. For some of you who are familiar with these companies, the more reputable and well-known companies in the industry were those that I had the great privilege of working with and for. My practice is full-time now, and over those many years, decades actually, I've been part-time, full-time, part-time, full-time, but now settling into full-time, absolutely. You can connect with me in person by going to my website at www.watersedgewellness.com, and there's a couple of those around the country. So I'm in Massachusetts, so make sure you're clicking on the right website. Or you can reach out to me through social media sites such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'll be doing this podcast now 4 times a month, sharing perspectives of natural health and healing. I might do interviews with key people and thought leaders, also other healers, naturopaths, natural vets, to get their perspectives and to share their wisdom. And if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to and like the Facebook page or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or something, or visit me on the website. Share the podcast if it so inspires you, and share with your friends and family who you think might really find some interest. And I really would like to hear what you would like to hear about. If there's something in, that you've been wondering about, or might be a little confused about, or hearing a lot of different information and you'd like to get my take on it, please reach out. Let me know. I'm really happy to share what I may or may not know, or find somebody in the industry who's a knowledgeable expert. You can add your comments in any of the social media sites, and I will absolutely respond. And with that, I'll say take good care of yourself, and see you really soon.
Well, Super Sleuths, we've conducted a very thorough investigation of this case, and we've learned a lot. Fran, you can show us the way home now.
What are you doing?
Fran, you're amazing! We're home! Tune in again for the next Supplement Sleuth adventure. Take good care, and Fran and I will see you soon. Say goodbye, Fran.